promises. That the wind on this plain will die in embers before our next breath, which is shallow and pained, can overcome the dust that rises, irises, from this desert lake bed. That my love of truth will endure one more long night of drawn curtains and empty bottles of whiskey. That the song in the field is that same one, love of beauty, love of truth, that we sang on a broken pier into the green-yellow sea of a full moon, spring night, while water was on wave. Do you hear me calling to the seagulls? That this dream will wither and die before one more tear drops from heaven to earth, love of the jaunty saxophone, love of the misery makers, love of mankind's misery makers. That we shall sing the misery song with a chorus of children in a cornfield on a warm Iowa dusk evening. When it comes from above, when it comes from above, when it comes from above, it is meant for us below. And with brilliant intensity, we will engineer one more dance for love of the mystery makers, love of promises. That the one promise unmade will be the one left unbroken, that the sea memory will merge with our cornfield song and make one night last. Love of the maker, love of truth. That it blackens behind points of light, that it is only blackness and more blackness behind the points. Love of the loss of beauty, love of. That the blackness has shape but no meaning, that we will sing the song of children and we will dance the dance of misery and mastery of the dream makers. That the desertion of the father will turn to silvered thoughts of cool nights on the solid wood porch in its neighborhood overlook, and of the father, so is the son. That the leaves of this last uninfected tree will heave its branches cleanly, without blood, through the plate glass, and in reaching across the ration of sadness that clusters in this room around yellow photos of a man on a motorcycle with a small hat peering out from 1955. Love of the father, love of the son, love of the sadness makers, the jaunty tunes of tuneless jackhammer afternoons. That the 14-year-old son put to work in a cold post-depression prairie town will make pains to reconnect those parts that frayed as springs, turn to summers, turn to falls, love of emptiness. Songs of the unborn silence, makers of the jaunty silence. That the new son failed to measure up to the dream, or that the dream failed to measure him at all. That the phone call will not create the desert place in the mind, that the dream of the loss will be replaced by the reality of the loss, that the loss itself will replace the knowledge of the loss, that the loss itself will make itself the reality without the pain of the loss, without the loss, love of the mighty sadness of self. That my hands thrown up in terror will come down at last in prayer. Of the tuneless songs of the last man to hold the son in his arms, the love that is loss. That my secret devotion will absolve the desire to have it, that the last memory of this night will leave itself drawn and dirtied on the front step, allowing the clean part entry to this love of the wife, love of the jaunty silence, home. That in turning myself one last time for home, I will find the constellation of Orion left standing, bloodied perhaps, but standing amongst the ether, pointing, interpreting the galaxy, singing his song of loss of life, of hunting for the loss of life, of the jaunty silence, of loss and desertion, of the pained expression of the silent spinning of his sword, of the gold shatters of mornings above the prows of our neighbors' homes. That my one good soul will meet with my one bad and form a bond out there on the lawn of a new home, that the heavens will not open nor even exist until this one soul finds the other, until the one finds the unanswered question of the one. That my knees will buckle at the appropriate hour in proper recompense for the indefensible actions, for the unmistakable sound the heart makes in passing like trains, like madness, like sadness, hurtles its way down murky tunnels of heart's passageways, the misery maker, loss of the soul, loss of the making of sanity, and the pathway to redemption. That this ending reveals newness despite its lateness coming, that this invocation shouts out warning of the impending change of motions, that this drawing madness from sanity leaves the shell whole and earthy, but without the center of sadness. love of the jaunty misery makers, love of the Father, in me, of thee.